Good evening. Senate will come to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck? Here. Senator Cannizzaro? Here. Senator Daly? Here. Senator Dignate? Here. Senator Dondero-Loop? Here. Senator Flores? Present. Senator Goycochea? Here. Senator Hammond? Here. Senator Hansen? Senator Harris? Here. Senator Krasner? Here. Senator Lang? Here. Senator Neal? Here. Senator Wynn? Here. Senator Orenshaw? Here. Senator Pizzina? Present. Senator Scheibel? Here. Senator Seavers-Gansert? Senator Spearman? Senator Stone? Here. Senator Titus? Here.
Let the record show that there are 21 senators present. Please rise for the prayer and pledge of allegiance to the flag, and the prayer will be done by our own Senator Jeff Stone.
The beautiful. Where does our help come from? Our help comes from the Holy One, creator of the heaven and the earth. Let us pray together. Holy God, please give us divine wisdom to lead this state. We pray that we would serve and revere you in our words and actions. We humbly ask that you grant us grace to know how to unify all that serve in this legislature. You don't recognize us as Democrats or Republicans, but rather as your divine creation for us to embrace and respect all life, to work and to help and to heal others, especially those that cannot help themselves. We have been entrusted as your stewards to do the right for all Nevadans, young and old, individuals and families. We are facing immense challenges. Please grant us divine wisdom to navigate our state through the uncertain pathways that may lie ahead. We cherish this brief time that we have on earth and the shared time together in the Senate chamber, now etched into the fabric of our lives. Please help us to remember the more important things that matter in our lives as we all go our separate ways and travel safely to our homes to be reunited with our loved ones. We seek your guidance and discernment, Holy Father, and we all say, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Order business number 3, reading and approval of the journal. By previous order of the Senate, the reading of the journal is dispensed with, and the President pro tempore and the Secretary are authorized to make the necessary corrections and additions. Order business number 4, reports of committees.
Madam President pro tempore, your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which we referred Assembly Bills numbers 153 to 7503, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Signed, Senator Pat Spearman, Chair. Madam President pro tempore, your Committee on Finance, to which we referred Senate Bills numbers 98 and 189, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which were re-referred Senate Bills numbers 162, 225, 233, 342, 350, 413, 416, and 435, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which were re-referred Senate Bills numbers 126 and 143, has had the same under consideration, begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Signed, Senator Marilyn Dondero-Loop, Chair. Mr. President, your Committee on Health and Human Services, to which were referred Assembly Bills numbers 130, 135, 277, 389, is at the same under consideration, begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Signed, Senator Fabian Dignate, Chair. Mr. President, your Committee on Judiciary, to which were referred Assembly Bills numbers 50, 260, 462, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Signed, Senator Melanie Scheibel, Chair. End of reports.
Thank you. Order business number 5, messages from the Governor.
Office of the Governor, June 1st, 2023, to the Honorable Nicole Cannizzaro, Majority Leader of the Nevada State Senate, Nevada Legislature, 401 South Carson Street, Carson City, Nevada, 89701. Dear Leader Cannizzaro, I'm returning Senate Bills numbers 133, 148, 299, 340, and 404 to the 82nd session of the Nevada Legislature without my approval, accompanied by my letters of objection. Sincerely, Joe Lombardo, Governor of Nevada. End of messages.
Order business number 6, messages from the Assembly.
Assembly Chamber, Carson City, May 31st, 2023. To the Honorable the Senate, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Assembly on this day concurred in the Senate amendments numbers 701 and 821 to Assembly Bill number 285. Senate Amendment number 851 to Assembly Bill number 330, signed Carol Ayala Saul, Assistant Chief Clerk of the Assembly. Assembly Chamber, Carson City, June 1st, 2023. To the Honorable the Senate. I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Assembly on this day passed, as amended, Assembly Bill number 349, signed Carol Ayala Saul, Assistant Chief Clerk of the Assembly. End of messages.
Thank you. Order business number 9, motions, resolutions, and notices. Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move that the news media personnel noted on the list at your desks be accepted and accredited as members of the press, and that they be allowed to use the appropriate media space and media facilities in the legislative building.
Thank you. All those in favor, you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move that consideration of vetoed Senate bills numbers 133, 148, 299, 340, and 404 be made a special order of business for June 5th, 2023 at 11:15 a.m.
Thank you, Senator Cannizzaro. You've heard the motion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move that Assembly Bills numbers 41 and 448 be taken from their place on general file and moved to general file for the next legislative day.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it.
Senator Iñarte has approved the addition of Senator Buck as a primary sponsor on Senate Bill 221. That concludes Order Business 9.
Thank you. Order business number 10, introduction, first reading, and reference.
Senate Bill 510, introduced by Finance, makes appropriations for the implementation of certain collective bargaining agreements. End of bill.
Order of business number 10.
Yeah,
Madam-
Senator John Terry Loop.
Thank you very much. I move to refer Senate Bill 510 to the Committee on Finance.
Senator John Terry Loop has moved to refer Senate Bill 510 to the Committee on Finance. Are there any objections to the referral? If not, so ordered.
Assembly Bill 349, introduced by Assemblyman O'Neill and Watts, establishes the Nevada Wildlife Conservation Program. End of bill.
Thank you. Senator Lang.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move that Assembly Bill 349 be referred to the Committee on Natural Resources.
Senator Lang has moved to refer Assembly Bill 349 to the Committee on Natural Resources. Are there any objections to the referral? If not, so ordered.
That concludes Order Business 10.
Order business 13, general file.
Senate Bill 469, introduced by Finance, makes an appropriation to the Nevada Gaming Commission for employee training and registration fees for conferences. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none. Section 2, this act becomes effective upon passage and approval.
Are there any remarks? Senator Neal.
Thank you, President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 469 appropriates $17,680 in general funds in the Nevada Gaming Commission for employee training.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? If not, Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? Secretary will close the roll. Senate Bill 469, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 492, introduced by Finance, makes appropriations to the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the replacement or purchase of certain information technology vehicles and equipment. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1 and to Section 1.
Senator Gokhtia. Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none. Section 19, this act becomes effective upon passage and approval. End of bill.
Senator Gokhtia.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. Senate Bill 492, as amended, makes general fund appropriations totaling $15,357,503 to various divisions of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the 23-25 biennium to replace field and office equipment, including $1,500,000 $13,931 for information technology hardware and associated software, $8,548,572 for fire engines, vehicles, and operational equipment, and $5,295,000 for a replacement helicopter for fire suppression. This act is effective on passage and approval. New ride for Mr. Settlemeyer.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, Secretary will open the roll. Has everyone voted? Is there anyone who wishes to change his or her vote? The Secretary will close the roll. The vote is 21 yea, 0 nay. The bill, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
That concludes Order Business 13 on the first agenda.
Order Business 14.
Senate Bill 14, introduced by Judiciary, makes various changes related to gaming. The Assembly has amended this bill with amendment number 633. Does the Senate wish to concur or not concur in this matter?
Thank you. Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move that the Senate concur in Assembly Amendment 633 to Senate Bill 14.
Senator Scheibel has moved to concur in Assembly Amendment number 633 to Senate Bill number 14. Are there any objections? Any further remarks? All those in favor, yea. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Senate Bill number 14 is ordered enrolled in the Assembly to be notified of our action.
That concludes Order Business 14 on the first agenda.
Order Business 16. We'll move down to the second agenda. Order Business number 4, reports of committees.
Madam President Pro Tempore, your Committee on Finance, to which was referred Senate Bill number 99, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation do pass. Also, your Committee on Finance, to which was re-referred Senate Bill number 311, is at the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation amend and do pass as amended. Signed, Senator Marilyn Dondera-Loop, Chair. End of reports.
Order Business number 12, second reading.
Senate Bill 98, introduced by Finance, revises provisions relating to education. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows. Section 1 under Section 1.
Are there any further amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 852, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondera-Loop.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered.
Thank you. I move to adopt the amendment.
Senator Dondera-Loop, you have heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Senate Amendment number 852 to Senate Bill 98 revises the following sections of the bill, deletes sections 1, 2, 3, and 5 of the bill, which eliminates the proposed changes to the people-centered funding plan that were included in the bill as introduced. Adds section 3.3, which requires the superintendent of public instruction to establish performance metrics for public schools, including the growth and proficiency of students in literacy, mathematics, and science, the engagement and proficiency of pupils in courses for college and career readiness, and the retention and recruitment of teachers and education support professionals. Section 3.3 also requires the superintendent of public instruction and each school district and charter school to publish the performance metrics on their respective websites and report on data for each metric annually to the governor, the State Board of Education, and the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. Add section 3.5, which revises the instances in which the Interim Finance Committee shall establish an amount of money to transfer from the Education Stabilization Account to the State Education Fund to include upon submission of a request from the department any amount of money which was deposited in the State Education Fund is found by an audit to have been deposited in error, and any error in the application of the People-Centered Funding Plan by the department has created a shortfall in the State Education Fund. Revises section 4 by requiring the Commission on School Funding to meet monthly either remotely or in person and outlining the time time frame and circumstances in which the commission is allowed to meet. Add Section 4.5, which revises the Commission's duties and responsibilities to include reviewing the academic progress made by pupils in each public school since the implementation of the pupil-centered funding plan utilizing various metrics. Revises Section 6, which includes which increases the general fund appropriation to the Commission on School Funding from $320,000 to $1,500,000 for the cost of conducting studies. Add Section 6.3 and 6.5, which provides a general fund appropriation of $10,000 in fiscal year 25 to the Department of Education for commission member travel expenses, and provides general fund appropriations of $6,200 in both fiscal year 24 and 25 to the Department of Education for the department staff travel for commission meetings. Revises Section 7, which adds an interim study concerning school accountability to be completed by the commission, and adds Section 7.5, which revises the appointment in terms of the members of the Commission on School Funding.
Thank you, Senator Dondero-Loop. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yea. Opposed, nay. And the motion is carried. Are there any further amendments?
There are none.
Thank you. Then Senate Bill 98 is ordered, reprinted, and engrossed into the general file.
Senate Bill 189, introduced by Senators Canizaro, et cetera, and Assemblywoman Anderson, et cetera, makes an appropriation to the communities and schools of Nevada for the purpose of providing integrated student support services. People, State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 880, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered.
Thank you. I move to adopt the amendment.
If no objections, so ordered. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you. Senate Amendment number 880 to Senate Bill 189 revises the general fund appropriation provided to communities and schools of Nevada from $6.9 million to $2 million.
Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yea. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Are there any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Senate Bill 189 is ordered now to be reprinted and engrossed into the general file.
Assembly Bill 50, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Judiciary, revises provisions relating to the prosecution of certain crimes. People, State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 50 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 130, introduced by Assemblywoman Bilberry Axelrod and Considine, revises provisions relating to assisted living facilities. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
And then Assembly Bill 130 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 135, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Health and Human Services, revises provisions relating to homelessness. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Then Assembly Bill 135 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 153, introduced by Assemblywoman Marzola, provides for the regulation of the practice of naturopathy. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 153 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 260, introduced by Assemblyman O'Neill, exempts veterans service organizations from various fees imposed on persons conducting business in this state. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 260 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 270, introduced by Assemblywoman Marzola, provides for the licensure and regulation of anesthesiologist assistants. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 270 is ordered to the general file.
Assembly Bill 277, introduced by Assemblyman Koenig, et cetera, establishes provisions governing rural emergency hospitals. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Then Assembly Bill 277 is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 389, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Health and Human Services, revises provisions governing Medicaid. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 389 is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 462, introduced by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, revises provisions governing the State Board of Parole Commissioners, the people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 462 is ordered to general file.
Assembly Bill 503, introduced by Judiciary, revises various provisions relating to background checks. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Assembly Bill 503 is ordered to general file.
That concludes Order Business 12 on the second agenda.
Madam President Pro Tempore,
Yes, Senator Long.
I'd like to move to Order Business 9 on the first agenda.
So ordered.
I would move to rescind the referral of AB 349 to the Committee on Natural Resources.
If no objection, so ordered.
Madam President, I would like to move to refer AB 349 to the Committee on Finance.
You've heard the motion. Are there any objections? Not so ordered. Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I would like Order Business 10, and I would like to move Assembly Bill 50 to the Committee on Finance.
You've heard the motion. Are there any objections? If not, so ordered. Additional remarks? Move down to Order Business 13, general file.
Senate Bill 126, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to the NV Grow program. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 878, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. I will move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Senate Amendment Number 878 to Senate Bill 126 as amended deletes the separate appropriations in Sections 3.5, instead requiring that the appropriations in that section be allocated from the annual appropriation to the College of Southern Nevada in Section 2.
Thank you. Are there any additional remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yea or aye. All those opposed, nay. The Senate Bill 126 is ready for final action.
Senate Bill 126, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to the NV Grow program. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
There are none. Section 6, this act becomes effective on July 1, 2023, and a bill.
Are there any remarks from the floor? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 126 is in its second reprint and makes various changes to the NV Grow Act and the administration of the program.
Are there any additional remarks? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? Hearing none, the Secretary will close the roll. Senate Bill 126, having received 21 yea and 0 nay, is having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 143, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to discrimination in housing. The people of the State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 879, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you very much. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
Are there any objections? So ordered.
I move to adopt the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. You've heard the motion. All those in favor, yea. Opposed, nay. Any further remarks? Any remarks? I'm sorry.
Senate Amendment Number 879 to Senate Bill 143 as amended revises subsection 3 of Section 15 to eliminate the requirement, instead authorizes the Attorney General to prepare, file, and litigate a civil action on behalf of a complainant or aggrieved person upon request. In addition, the amendment add Section 47.5, which appropriates $101,086 in fiscal year 24 and $96,135 in fiscal year 25 from the State General Fund to the Nevada Equal Rights Commission in the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation for personnel operating and technology expenditures to implement the provisions of Senate Bill 143 as amended. The amendment revises Section 48, which adds the effective date of Section 47.5 to be July 1st, 2023.
Are there any further remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Assembly Bill 143 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 143, introduced by Senator Neal, revises provisions relating to discrimination in housing. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any further amendments?
There are none. Section 48 and to Section 48 and a bill.
Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 143, as amended, makes changes to the Nevada's housing discrimination law, including changes to the Nevada Equal Rights Commission's procedures for investigating complaints of discrimination in housing.
Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? Senate Bill 143, the yeas are 14, the nays are 7, have received a constitutional majority that is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 162, introduced by Senator Scheibel, revises provisions relating to voting in county and city jails. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 824, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Tandero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I withdraw Amendment 824 to Senate Bill 162.
If there are no objections, so ordered. You've heard the motion. Now, are there any remarks? Senate Bill 162 is ready for final action.
Senate Bill 162, introduced by Senator Scheibel, revises provisions relating to voting in county and city jails. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 7 and to Section 7, end of bill.
Are there remarks from the floor? Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 162 requires that a person who administers a county or city jail establish a policy that ensures that a person who is detained in a county or city jail who is registered and eligible to vote may vote in any election in which the person who is detained is eligible to. Submit a copy of that policy of that. Not the person who administers the jail has to submit a copy of the policy to the Secretary of State and the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau. And the bill also clarifies that nothing in it authorizes a person convicted of a felony in Nevada who has not had his or her right to vote restored to vote in any election.
Thank you. Additional remarks? Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. One of our most precious rights in the United States is our right to vote. Inscribed in the facade of the U.S. Supreme Court is equal justice for all. In this country, one is presumed innocent until proven guilty. We have inmates that can be incarcerated if accused of a serious crime that may not be able to meet bail prior to a preliminary hearing, that remain innocent until proven guilty, but still incarcerated. These populations of inmates that have not been tried yet by a jury of their peers and hence remain innocent and cannot and should not be denied the right to vote. This bill is not extending the right to vote to anyone that has had that right taken away from them based on committing a felony and being in prison. What this bill does is it allows the accused, but not the convicted, inmates in jail their constitutional right to a paper ballot or a fillable, the same electronic devices that our military uses overseas to vote with. That's it. This bill is supported by law enforcement, including the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. For these reasons, I urge a yes vote. Being accused of a crime does not take away your right to exercise your right to vote. By voting yes on this bill, you are supporting this important right.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Additional remarks? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote?
That was the amendment you...
Senate Bill 162 having received 21, the yeas are 21 and the nays are 0, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 225, introduced by Senator Harris, revises provisions governing peace officers. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1 and Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 825, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Daniel.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered.
Thank you. I move to adopt the amendment.
If no objections, so ordered. Senator Daniel.
Amendment number 825 to Senate Bill 225 as amended requires that a law enforcement agency shall provide the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission on a written summary of the outcome of an investigation of a peace officer who resigns or otherwise separates from employment while an investigation concerning alleged misconduct is pending after the investigation is complete.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Senate Bill 225 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 225, introduced by Senator Harris, revises provisions governing peace officers. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1 and Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 10 and Section 10 and a bill.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Temp. Senate Bill 225 as amended requires an application for certification as a peace officer to include certain requirements. Applicants must submit an affidavit confirming the eligibility and absence of disqualifications such as prior misconduct or resigning during pending misconduct investigations. If an officer separates from employment while under investigation concerning alleged misconduct, the law enforcement agency shall promptly provide a written summary of the outcome of the investigation once the investigation is complete to the Peace Officer Standard and Training Commission. The bill disqualifies individuals with domestic violence convictions from serving as peace officers and prohibits agencies from considering cannabis use as a condition of employment. Lastly, the bill mandates a search of the National Decertification Index or equivalent database to ensure the applicant's name does not appear in any such index, and requires the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission to report decertified officers to the National Decertification Index.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Are there additional remarks? Seeing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? The vote is 20 yea, 1 nay. The bill having received a constitutional majority is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 233, introduced by Senator Cannizzaro, revises provisions governing taxes imposed on certain heavy equipment. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1 and Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
I have amendment number 815, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Daniel.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If no objection, so ordered. Senator Daniel.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Thank you. And Senate Amendment number 815 to Senate Bill 233 makes the following changes. Legislative declarations and findings are added. An exclusion is added for persons engaged in the business of renting heavy equipment, rental property, primarily to related persons or affiliates. The tax return must state the gross receipts from each taxing district in which the property was rented rather than from a business location. The proceeds from the tax must be distributed quarterly rather than every 6 months. A mechanism is created by which the Department of Taxation is required to compare actual collections from the excise tax to the property tax that would have been paid in fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26, and then either collecting an additional amount from the rental companies that the excise tax collected is less than what the property tax would have generated, or providing a refund if the excise tax collected is greater than what the property tax would have generated. The department is required to submit a report and recommendations regarding this tax to the 84th session of the legislature. A sunset of June 30th, 2064 is added to the bill, and general fund appropriations of $383,790 in fiscal year 25 and $350,023 in fiscal year 25 are provided to the Department of Taxation to carry out the provisions of this bill.
Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Senate Bill 233 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 233, introduced by Senator Cannizzaro, revises provisions governing taxes imposed on certain heavy equipment. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 41 and Section 41 and a bill. This bill requires a two-thirds majority vote.
Are there any remarks from the floor? Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 233, as amended, provides an exemption from the personal property taxes for qualified heavy equipment rental property as defined in the bill. The bill additionally imposes a new tax at the rate of 2% of the gross receipts from the rental of this heavy equipment, which is to be administered by the Department of Taxation. Proceeds from the tax are to be distributed to the recipients of property taxes in the taxing district where the rental occurred. Senate Bill 233 as amended also creates a mechanism by which the Department of Taxation is required to compare actual collections from the excise tax to the property tax that would have been paid in FY 2025 and FY 2026, and then either collect an additional amount from the rental companies if the excise tax collected is less than what the property tax would have generated, or provide a refund if the excise tax collected is greater than what the property tax would have generated. Finally, this act provides that for general fund appropriations of $383,790 in fiscal year 2024 and $350,023 in fiscal year 2025 to the Department of Taxation to carry out the provisions of this act.
Thank you, Senator Cannizzaro. Are there any further remarks? Seeing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? The vote having received the vote is 19 yea and 2 nay. The bill having received a constitutional majority is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 342, introduced by Senators Goicoechea, et cetera, enacts provisions relating to veterinary medicine. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
I have amendment number 826, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Luke.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered. Senator
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Senate Amendment Number 826 to Senate Bill 342 revises Sections 2 and 3, which provides general fund appropriations totaling $8,155,851 to the Interim Finance Committee for allocation to the Nevada Office of the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education upon submittal by the Nevada Office of the signed contract with Utah State University to carry out the provisions of Senate Bill 342.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. And the motion is carried. Senate Bill 342 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 342, introduced by Senators Goicoechea, et cetera, enacts provisions relating to veterinary medicine. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 4 into Section 4 and a bill.
Are there any remarks from the floor? Senator Goicoechea.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. Senate Bill 342, as amended, exempts a participant who receives a stipend from the Nevada WICHE Office of Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, also known as WICHE, program from completing an employment obligation which is otherwise a requirement for participants completing a degree in human health field. If the participant participates in a program to earn a degree of Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. The bill as amended provides general fund appropriations of $8 million to the Interim Finance Committee for allocation to the Nevada office upon entering into a contract with Utah State University for a program to provide a stipend for the out-of-state tuition of 70 Nevada residents to earn a degree of Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Utah State University. Senate Bill 342, as amended, further provides general fund appropriation of $79,719 for 2024 and $76,132 for 2025 to the Interim Finance Committee for allocation to the Nevada office for one new program officer in position and associated operating costs to assist the Nevada office in carrying out the provisions of Senate Bill 342. Sections 1 and 2 of Senate Bill 342 as amended become effective on passage and approval. Section 3 becomes effective on July 1st, 2023. We don't have a veterinary medicine school in the state of Nevada. This will give us, over a 10-year period, at least 70 veterinarians into the state. I hope you don't need one, but this will make them available, we hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gokshi. Are there any further remarks? Seeing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? The vote is 21 yea, 0 nay, and the bill, having received a constitutional majority, is voted passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 350, introduced by Senators Pazina, et cetera, and Assemblyman Cameron Miller, revises provisions relating to graduate medical education. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1 and Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
Amendment number 827, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Amendment number 827 to Senate Bill 350 deletes Section 9, which appropriates $17 million in general funds to the Graduate Medical Education Program, and adds the requirement that the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology shall establish a committee of people with expertise in subject matters related to the graduate medical education to develop a process, procedure, and rubric for evaluation of applications for grants.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Senate Bill 350 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 350, introduced by Senators Pazina, et cetera, and Assemblyman Cameron Miller, revises provisions relating to graduate medical education. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1 and Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 11, this act becomes effective upon passage and approval into bill.
Are there remarks from the floor? Senator Pazina.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 350, as amended, requires the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology to establish the Graduate Medical Education Grant Program to award grants to institutions seeking to create, expand, or retain accredited programs for residency training and postdoctoral fellowships for physicians, and creates the account for the Graduate Medical Education Grant Program to carry out the program. Senate Bill 350, as amended, creates the advisory council. Already said all of that. On the program, and specifies that the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology shall establish a committee of people with expertise in subject matters related to a graduate medical education to develop a process, procedure, and rubric for evaluation of applications for grants. SB 350 becomes effective upon passage and approval.
Thank you, Senator Pazina. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. I rise in support of SB 350, although I'm disappointed that not all of the things we had hoped would be in there. I do recognize that there's a step process here. There is some funding, and I look forward to working with my associate from District 12 on looking at some continual and guaranteed funding in the future, and I urge your support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Senator Buck. Senate Bill 350, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. And Order Business 16. Thank you. So I missed an opportunity for someone to speak, so we will cancel the vote. And Senator Stone?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm standing up to support this tonight. I want to applaud my colleague in Southern Nevada, District 12, and I want to applaud also my colleague in District 17 that has worked very hard to get GME funding. And the reason why I'm standing up is that my wife is at Cedars-Sinai Hospital tonight. And the reason why she's there tonight is because she couldn't get in to see a specialist here in Nevada in a timely way. She's going to be fine, but I just wanted to exemplify why this is so important and why we need to fund this. Because we have a lot of healthcare, we're exporting a lot of our healthcare dollars to other states. We need to nurture those professionals here so we can make it convenient for Nevadans to get the appropriate professional medical care right here in our home state. And that's not going to happen until we fully fund a strong residency program and nurture a lot of the medical school students that we have in Nevada to get their residencies here, knowing that 70% of those that do their residencies here will stay here. So again, I applaud the author and my colleague. I urge you all to please vote yes on this measure.
Thank you. Now, are there any other remarks? Seeing none, Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? The Secretary will close the roll. The vote on Senate Bill 350 is 21 yea and 0 nay. The bill, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 413, introduced by Judiciary, revises provisions relating to credits to reduce the sentence of an offender. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
Amendment number 828, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
No objection, so ordered. Senator Dondero-Lute.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Senate Amendment number 828 to Senate Bill 413 is amended, revises the effective date of the new method for determining credits to reduce the sentence of an offender from January 1st, 2025 to July 1st, 2025, and establishes the ability for certain offenders to opt in to the new method prior to July 1st, 2025 effective date. Amendment 828 also requires the Department of Corrections to share information with the Attorney General concerning actions taken to implement the revised method for determining credits to reduce the sentence of an offender, in the department to report to the Interim Finance Committee concerning such actions. This amendment also makes general fund appropriations of $427,919 over the 23-25 biennium to the Department of Corrections for costs associated with upgrading the department's information technology system and for personnel costs to carry out the provisions of this bill.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Senate Bill 413 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 413, introduced by Judiciary, revises provisions relating to credits to reduce the sentence of an offender. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 11 into Section 11, end of bill.
Are there any remarks from the floor? Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. Senate Bill 413, as amended, provides that certain offenders are allowed to receive credit against their minimum and maximum terms as applicable, equivalent to 35% to the applicable term of the sentence of the offender based on a risk and needs assessment. The bill also requires the director to provide each offender various lists of risks and needs assessment programs and submit to the Board of Prison Commissioners a report on offender participation and completion of programs identified in the risk and needs assessment. Before we take a vote on this, I just want to give a quick shout out to Victoria Gonzalez, who worked tirelessly on figuring out how to fix what is a very broken system. And I think that she nailed this particular problem on the head. And without her help, we would never know how long anyone had until their next probation date. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Are there any further remarks from the floor? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? So now the Secretary will close the roll on the vote on Senate Bill 413 is 21 yea, 0 nay, and the bill, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 416, introduced by Judiciary, revises provisions relating to the Department of Corrections. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 829, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero Luke.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
You've heard the motion. If no objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Amendment number 829 to Senate Bill 416 makes various changes to the operations of the Department of Corrections, including the markup percentage for packages sold through the commissary. Additionally, Amendment number 829 authorizes the director to adopt regulations governing the possession of personal property by offenders and makes a general fund appropriation of $2,616,944 over the 23-25 biennium to the Department of Corrections to offset reductions in revenue associated with the implementation of the provisions of Senate Bill 416.
Are there any further remarks from the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 416 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 416, introduced by Judiciary, revises provisions relating to the Department of Corrections. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 and to Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 12 and to Section 12 and to bill.
Are there any remarks from the floor? Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. Senate Bill 416, as amended, prohibits the director of the Nevada Department of Corrections from adopting any regulations which authorize the imposition of a deduction for the co-payment of any routine or emergency medical care provided to an offender, and prohibits the director from authorizing a deduction from an offender's wage for the cost for room and board if the hourly wage of the offender is less than the federal minimum wage. In other words, it eliminates the room and board fees. This bill also restricts the director from adopting any regulations which place a monetary limitation on the ability of an offender to receive or purchase goods or services from the commissary, and that authorize the markup of the price of a personal hygiene product sold at the commissary. Additionally, this bill authorizes the director, with the approval of the Board of State Prison Commissioners, to adopt regulations governing the possession of personal property by offenders, and makes a general fund appropriation of $2,616,944 over the 2023-2025 biennium to the Department of Corrections to offset reductions in revenues associated with the implementation of the provisions of Senate Bill 416.
Thank you, Senator Scheibel. Are there any further remarks? Senator Nguyen.
I rise in support of Senate Bill 416. The one point I want to highlight in this bill is one that I think just makes sense. It makes sense for rehabilitation. It just makes common sense. We currently have a system that if you are incarcerated in one of our prisons and you are working and you are trying to better yourself, you are trying to learn skills, you are charged room and board. And that comes out of the salary, the minimal salary that you earn. Sometimes ultimately when it comes to, it is less than 50 cents an hour. This bill takes that and makes you in a situation where if you have a job, you no longer have to pay room and board. Why this is so important is if you choose not to get a job and you don't do anything while you are incarcerated, you do not have to pay room and board. So we are penalizing people that choose to work and choose to better themselves while they are incarcerated. And that is why I support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Nguyen. Additional comments, remarks? Hearing none, the Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? Secretary will close the roll. Senate Bill 416, the yeas are 18, the nays are 3, have received a constitutional majority. The bill is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
Senate Bill 435, introduced by Health and Human Services, revises provisions relating to Medicaid. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there any amendments to the bill?
I have amendment number 830, proposed by the Senate Committee on Finance.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tempore. I move to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
If there are no objections, so ordered. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Are there any remarks?
Senate Amendment 830 to Senate Bill 435 prohibits the continued imposition of a provider assessment where state or federal law or regulations prohibit or alter the authorized use of revenue generated by the assessment and specifies the assessment revenue may only be used for the authorized purposes.
Thank you. Are there any further remarks? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Are there any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Senate Bill 435 is now ready for final action.
Senate Bill 435, introduced by Health and Human Services, revises provisions relating to Medicaid. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate Assembly, do enact as follows, Section 1 into Section 1.
Are there amendments to the bill as a whole?
There are none. Section 3, this act becomes effective upon passage and approval into bill.
Senator Nguyen.
Thank you. Senate Bill 435 is amended, authorizes money received from a private medical provider assessment to be used to provide supplemental payments or enhanced rates of reimbursement to operators that are not assessed the provider tax under certain circumstances. Additionally, Senate Bill 435 provides or allows funding received from private and rural hospitals to enhance behavioral health services provided through Medicaid and limits the total amount of assessed provider tax for enhanced services and administrative procedures to 15%.
Thank you. Are there further remarks? Hearing none, Secretary will open the roll. Does anyone wish to change his or her vote? The Secretary will close the roll. Senate Bill 435, yeas are 21, nay are 0. Senate Bill 435, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed and ordered to the Assembly.
That concludes Order of Business 13 on the second agenda and the business of the desk for this legislative day.
Order Business 16. Remarks on the floor, introduction of guests. Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. Today is June 1st, which across the country starts the beginning of Pride Month. And so I felt that it was appropriate for me to just stand up and say a few words about my home state, Nevada, and how far this state has come since I have lived here in my lifetime. I often tell the story of my first political act, and that was going around ripping up people's signs out of their yards when we had the proposition to ban gay marriage in the Nevada Constitution. That was the very first time that I felt that I needed to do something. And as a teenager, that was about all I could do in my act of rebellion. I couldn't vote yet, and that memory sticks with me because I have actually had the opportunity now to serve with the first openly gay woman in the Senate and the first openly gay male in the Nevada Senate. Both of whom made it possible for me to have a more normal childhood as a openly gay child than a lot of people across the country. And so on this Pride Month, I salute my state, Nevada, for being at the forefront of this issue, and I hope that we continue to be a place where everyone feels welcome. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Additional remarks? And I'll take a point of privilege. I just want to give a shout out to our former colleague, Senator David Parks, without whom all of the foundation that was laid for equality and equity would not be possible. So, David Parks, we salute you. Additional remarks? Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate stand in adjournment until the hour of 5 p.m. on Friday, June 2nd, 2023.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.